3.5, write ratios and proportions. Ratios. A ratio uses division to compare two quantities you can write the ratio of two quantities A and B where B is not equal to 0 in three ways. First way is we can write it as A to B, like that. We can write it as A colon B, or we can write it as A divided by B. It is read as the ratio of A to B. No matter which form we write it in, we always read it the same way, the ratio of A to B. Always write ratios in simplest form. So that's ratios. We also have proportions. Which are equations that state that two ratios are equivalent so it'll look something like A over B is equal to C over D. So the ratio of, okay, so this would be the ratio of A to B is equal to the ratio of C to D, basically. Where B and D are not equal to 0 because we can't have a 0 in the denominator. So a lot of times what happens with these is they're going to give you one of those pieces, either A, B, C, or D, is going to be a variable that you're solving for, and then you're going to have numbers in all the other places, and then you're going to solve for the variable. So that's why it kind of ties back into like our pretty much just our one-step equations that we were doing in 3.1. All right, the first stuff is we're going to tell if the ratio is in simplest form or not. So basically, if I wrote it as a fraction, because they won't be written as a fraction, could I reduce them? Essentially is what it's asking. If it is, then we just say that it is, and if it's not, then we're going to actually simplify it down. So number 4, 5 colon 13. So remember, that's the ratio of 5 to 13. Essentially, does 13 go into 5, or like, are there any factors of that would reduce that?
No.
No, so this one is good as it is, so this is in simplest form. Number 6, the ratio of 28 to 32. Would this one be in simplest form?
No.
What can I do?
Divided by 4.
Yeah.
Divide by 4, and what is that going to give me if I do that?
7 to 8.
7 to 8. And that would be in simplest form then. I guess I should technically write no. It's not in simplest form. So 7 to 8 would be the revised version. So we're going to start out with just solving proportions, because proportions are just like basically two ratios equal to each other, as we said. So we're going to start out solving them, and then a little bit we'll have a statement where they'll give us like the ratio of something to something is equal to like the ratio of something to something, and we'll actually have to set up the equation and then solve it as well. So number 8. The ratio of 4 to 1 is equal to the ratio of z to 16. So what I have to do on these is just basically solve a one-step equation. What do you think I might need to do to get the variable by itself?
Simplify. Wait.
Reduce 4 and 16.
They're equal to each other, so I can't reduce them.
Multiply by 1 over 4.
Yeah.
So I want the variable by itself. So what's happening on this side?
Oh, you gotta cross multiply by
So sort of, but if you cross multiply on these ones, you're going to end up doing extra work. But the next section of like 3.6 is cross multiplying. So kinda, but I'm only going to cross multiply one direction. So if you have z divided by 16, how do I undo division?
Multiplication.
Multiply. So I'm multiplying by 16. 16 times 4 is?
56. Wait, no.
It is 64.
Yes.
So 64 is equal to z. And so that would be your answer. Ten 36 over 12 equals x over 2. What would I have to do here?
Multiply by 2.
Multiply by 2. Now, this other one was nice and easy. There was just a 1 on the bottom. When I multiply over here, I want to see if I can reduce anything down, because that's going to make my life way easier. So there's a couple different ways I can reduce this. How many times does 12 go into 36?
3.
3. So I can actually just do this. That's gone. And now I can just do 2 times 3. You could have reduced the 2 and the 12, however you wanted to do it. So I'm going to get 6 equals x. And if you multiplied 2 times 36 and then divided it by 12, you're going to get the same answer either way. So it doesn't matter what order you do stuff in. I just like to reduce to make my math easier.
So how do you cross out the 36?
The 36 over 12 would be equal to 3. Because that wasn't a fully reduced ratio to begin with. Um, 12. K over 9 equals 10 over 18. So what do I do with this one?
Multiply by 9.
Multiply by 9. So I'm left with K over here equals, what can I do on this side?
you could simplify it.
How?
9, it goes into 18 twice.
Yep, 9 goes into 18 2 times, so I can cancel this and rewrite 18 as 2. That's just gone. That's just a 1 now. So now I have 10 over 2, which is
5.
5. Uh, 14. D over 5 equals 80 over 100. So when I have one like this where it is like, I'm going to say two bigger numbers, but numbers that are like increments of 10, when there's zeros on the end, I think I've shown this to you before, I'm sure you've seen it before, but I can actually go ahead and just cross out the zeros, and now I'm left with 8 over 10 just to make my math easier. So, but what would I do technically as my first step now?
Times by 5.
Multiply by 5. So D equals,
4.
4.
how'd you get that?
I just put 5 into 100 and then divided. Like 5 is 1, 100 is 20. Then we divide.
Okay. So 5 and 10, that would cancel to 2. 8 over 2 is 4. But yes, however you go about getting it is fine. Just want to make sure everyone's seeing what's happening. Do we feel okay about these so far? All right, I'm going to move into the ones where we're setting them up because we're still going to be solving, but we're just also setting them up. So these say write the sentence as a proportion, then solve the proportion. So 24. 5 is to 7 as A is to 49. So whatever comes first, so 5 is to 7, so that's going to be 5 over 7. So 5 is to 7 as, that means set it equal. A is to 49, so A over 49. So that's the first part that it's asking me for. This is like step 1. Step 2 is to actually solve it. So what'd I do?
Multiply by 49. Then reduce like 7 is 1, 49 is 7, and then H is equal to 35.
Yep, so 7 and 49 reduce. 7 times 5 is 35. So that would be part 2 there for what it's asking you in the questions. (26) Y is to 20 as 9 is to 5. How would I set this one up?
Y over 20 equals 9 over 5.
Yep, Y over 20 equals 9 over 5. Now what?
Multiply by 20.
Multiply by 20.
4 equals 36.
How'd you 26? 36?
That's what I said, 36.
You said 26?
You said 26.
That's why I was like, huh?
That's not what I
That's
said.
26.
I was like, I don't think so. So I was like, let me do it again. Yeah, 36.
That's what I
So
said.
5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36.
Definitely 26.
26 is video?
Nice.
It happens.
Nice
Nice
math
going,
video.
video.
Nice math.
Where'd you subtract?
It's okay. I completely did something like that earlier today in a class. They were like, are you sure? And I was like, no.
Bruh, I'm not sure.
No.
Because then they were like, I think it's this. And I looked at it again and I was like, yep, that would be correct.
I swear I said 36.
30. T is 221 as 40 is 228. How do I set this one up?
T over 21 and 4 over 28. 40 over 28.
That's step 1. Now what?
Times 21.
Times 21.
Oh yeah, I'm happy. No.
Nice second.
So
3 and
I would definitely recommend you try to reduce this down. What is something that we see top and bottom that I could reduce?
By 7.
7.
7.
3 and 4.
So that'd be 4. That would be 3. What else can I reduce?
Oh, I get it.
The 40.
The 40.
So the 40 and the
10.
4. So that'll be 10 times 3, so 30. So as long as your final answer is reduced, you don't have to necessarily reduce it all right here.
It's almost.
But make sure, because some of you are like pretty chaotic in your writing on these problems that have two parts to them, or I need to see the equation and I need an answer. You may need to write the equation twice so that I can actually see the equation and then write it again to like solve it, because if I can't read your work, or like if I can't read your step one, I'm not gonna be able to give you all the points. So make sure you're careful, or that if you're crossing it out like I am, like I can tell what you're doing. Just don't be like, because then I can't see what your equation was.
How did you reduce the 40 to 10?
Yeah.
So I initially did, let me go to the intermediate step. So I was left with a t on this side. I had gotten down to 40 over 4 times 3 was what I was left with, because I had reduced a 7, or taken out a 7 from 21 and a 7 from 28. So that's what I was left with. So then 4 goes into 40 10 times, and that's how we got it. And if you need to do it in like steps instead of doing it all at once, that's fine. But I know a lot of you like to do as few steps as possible, so if you want to do it that way, that's fine too. I don't care. Alright, a few more harder problems. 36 over 54 equals 2x over 6. So these aren't really super different from what we were doing in our two-step equation problem. So all the other ones have pretty much been one-step problems.
No, I blinked.
What?
I just heard no, I blinked.
That's all I heard too. That's why I was like, what?
Oh, the math goes from 1 plus 1 blink. Oh.
Alright, so what do I need to do first? I need to ultimately get x by itself. I'm going to have to do this one in 2 steps.
Oh, great.
How do I get x by itself?
Multiply.
Multiply by 6. So I'm going to have 2x equals, what can I reduce over here?
4 over, yeah, 4 over, wait, no. Wait, yeah, 4 over 6. Wait, what?
So
6 over
I would do the 6 into 54 is how many times?
9.
9. So now I'm left with, I've reduced all that, so I'm left with 36 over 9, which is
4.
4. So I now have 4 equals 2x. What would my next step be?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So 2 equals x.
Wait.
So like a 4t is equal to 21. Do we have to write that
Those cancel
out
out. The 6
before?
are 2 sixes.
Like, do we have to write that out before we do it, or just like put it down,
Where?
like on your paper, like
No.
do you have to write the whole thing down?
It's ability.
You would need to write it like I have it.
Well, like like the words,
Guys, somebody's asking me a question. I can't even hear him.
like the words on it, like what did you write down? This equals.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
I would want you to write the problem statement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's short. If they're like full on word problems, it's a little different, but that's just one little line. Yeah, I want you to write them out. 36. 10h over 108 equals 5 over 9. What would my first step be? Multiply by 108. So I'm left with 10h over here. What do I have over here?
5 times 12 if you reduce.
So 108 and 9 reduce to 12. 5 times 12 is 60. Now what?
Divide by 10.
Divide by 10. So h equals 6.
Stop it.
All right, one more and then we'll be done. 42. 6 plus n divided by 60 equals 15 over 90. So notice this one's a little different. The other ones, we've either just had a variable by itself or we've had it being multiplied. What's happening to the variable in this one?
Addition.
It's being added, so I just need to pay attention to that when I go to do the final thing. So what's my first step?
Multiply by 60.
Multiply by 60. So first thing I would do is get rid of the zeros. Essentially, I just divided by 10, so I have 15 times 6 divided by 9. What else can I do?
Reduce the free.
So I can
Yeah, my heck.
cancel the 6 and the 9. Take out a 3, so that's 2, and that's 3. What's 15 divided by 3?
5.
Did everybody track what I just did here?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Wait, hold on a second.
Why'd you divide?
Don't you have to also
Because
don't you have to also multiply 2 after that, so
number
wouldn't it be
was
6
So
plus
it's
n equals
divided by
10?
15.
Oh, right, no, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be 6 plus n?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So 15 divided by 3, and then I left off this 2 up here, so it would be 10
Minus 6.
minus 6. So n equals 4, and that would be your final answer.
But I thought if you did 15 divided by 3, it would have been 5.
It was, but I forgot about this multiply by 2 up here. All right, any questions about this stuff?
Oh, I see. I see. You know, she got 10 because she was 15 over 3.
Can't read your handwriting.
Alright.
I can't read a lot of your handwritings.
That's a final
15 over
Yeah,
3.
that's fine.
me.
I'm not just talking about him, I'm talking about a lot of people in
AKA
here.
me.
And then there's 2, right? Because you're multiplying.
Wait, no, I don't get
You multiply 60 by 90, right? Since you cancel those out, you get 3, and you get a 2.
Yeah.
Well, you divide these two, so you get 5 over 1, because the bottom has to be 1. So then you multiply 2 times 5.
Wake up.
That's definitely how it works.
Yep.
I agree. Thank you.
You know those like letters back in the day? No, it's not.
All right, 7 through 17, odd, 25, 29, 37, and 39. You have more than enough time. You should be able to finish these before you leave and not have homework this weekend.